Hello, good evening, and welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo to present. And our top stories in the news tonight. 2 women of the same family in GWembe die after consuming a sex booster. Family of a 4-year-old boy recently stabbed to death demands justice. Government urged to subsidize the essential commodities like fuel and meal. In international news, Cyclone FREDDY slams eastern Mozambique with exceptional rainfall. And in sports news, 14 bodybuilders selected to participate in the Western Championship in Ghana next month.
On Monday, 27th February 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guest, Mr. Xavier Chishimba, President of UPP.
What you are saying is, we in the UPP, if we want to fight against corruption, we must separate, as a matter of agency, policy formulation from implementation. Right now we have line ministries making policies, implementing policies. It is wrong.
As they discuss governance, corruption, justice, and economy.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello again, the news in detail. 2 women of the same family in GWembe's Kotakota Ward, Southern Province, have died while one has been admitted to GWembe District Hospital after consuming some herbal medicines suspected to be sexual boosters. GWembe Town Council Chairperson Colette Ndlovu, who visited the victim at the hospital, said the herbal medicine was bought by the victim's husband from 2 salesmen believed to be from Lusaka. Ms. Ndlovu said the 3 victims developed acute diarrhea immediately after consuming the herbs, which resulted into the death of 2 of them. Ms. Ndlovu has since urged people in the district to desist from consuming medicine that is not authorized by health practitioners. Meanwhile, Ms. Ndlovu has described the health condition of the surviving victim admitted at the hospital as stable, adding that the 2 suspects have since been arrested by police.
There were 2 gentlemen who came from Lusaka who were selling herbal drugs. So when they reached Koma, they visited one of the villagers in Koma, a man who is married to 3 wives, where they showed him the drugs which they were selling. So the seller told the buyer that once they take these drugs, they will have some bit of diarrhea and some bit of vomiting and the whatsoever. Then the man was impelled to buy these drugs because what the seller told him, he was interested to have his health the way he thought it could help him. So after taking those drugs, the man himself started vomiting, purging, diarrhea a bit. Then after a while, he recovered from that. He recovered, then he gave it to his 3 wives who took the drugs. Now, unfortunately, from yesterday, around 14 hours to 22 hours, the 2 wives, diarrhea never stopped. Until around 22 hours, they died. So the other wife, the 3rd wife, was rushed to Munyumba Hospital where he's admitted today. He's also not in a good condition, but we have sent the vehicles to go and pick the bodies and the police, so that the bodies can be deposited in our mortuary at the GWembe Hospital to waste police investigation and to await the post-mortem. But the 2 sellers have been apprehended. They are in the hands of the police.
A man of Mtendere compound in Lusaka, Sikunyane Jere, is demanding for justice in a case where his 4-year-old grandson, Promise Jere, was stabbed to death by a daughter-in-law's former boyfriend on Saturday, 18th February 2023. Speaking to Camnet News, Mr. Jerry explains that the incident happened at around 04 hours on the material day when his daughter-in-law, who is separated from her husband, had gone for work at a nightclub, leaving the deceased in the care of his elder sister, aged 13 years. He explains that it was at this point that the accused broke into the house in search of their mother and stabbed the boy out of fury as she was considering reuniting with her husband. More in this report.
This firewood left over from a funeral is a painful reminder of how children often find themselves as victims of some relationship disputes, with some cases leading to death, necessitating heavy punishments on offenders of such crimes. This is the situation that has befallen this grandfather of Mutendere compound in Lusaka, as he recently put to rest his 4-year-old grandson, who was allegedly stabbed to death by his daughter-in-law's former boyfriend. Mr. Sikunya Nejere explains that his son and his daughter-in-law are currently separated, and that his daughter-in-law, who takes care of the children, was at work at a nightclub on the morning of Saturday, 18th February 2023, leaving the 4-year-old in the care of his 13-year-old sister, when his daughter-in-law's former boyfriend broke into the house looking for their mother, as he heard that she had intentions of reconciling with her husband. It was upon not finding the mother at home that the accused allegedly stabbed the 4-year-old boy with a knife, who died a few hours later at the University Teaching Hospital, UTH.
The sister to the deceased identified the man as Maraj Daka. Later on, the child who was stabbed was taken to UTH, where he died. That was around 9 to 10 hours, the very 18th Saturday. It's a knife. It was a knife, ripping her at the abdomen, making a plus, and all the abdomen were down. They were just pressing them inside.
He is calling for speedy justice now that the accused has been apprehended, noting that some cases often go unconcluded for years.
Since this person was apprehended, he is in the hands of the state. I am asking the state to do justice as their programs. And it should be done within the shortest period, not taking long. Because most of some cases, if they take long, they just die like that without knowing the direction, what has happened.
The mother of the boy is currently devastated as she has lost 2 children within a space of 1 week, having lost her second-born daughter 2 weeks ago after being beaten by a rabid dog. She is now living in George compound with no mobile phone, hence the news crew failing to reach her, while the father of the boy is living with his own father in the meantime, who is Mr. Sikunya Nejere. The family feels that there should be strict laws to deter would-be offenders from such crimes. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Chilubi Member of Parliament Mullenger Forbe says the cost of living for his people in his constituency has become unbearable due to escalating prices of basic commodities due to increased transportation costs, as the constituency has no filling station. Speaking to Camnet News, Mr. Forbe notes that the lack of a filling station in the constituency has resulted in 1 litre of fuel being sold for as much as 40 kwacha as it is transported by road from neighboring towns. The lawmaker fears that if the status quo remains the same, life will become unbearable for the people of his constituency, urging the private sector to consider setting up filling stations even in far-flung areas of the country.
Where we get the commodity, the nearest place we can get the commodity, the nearest filling station is the other side is up to Sanfia Musaila there. The other side is Luingu, meaning that the other one has to come through the boat. The other one has to come through land, but on a very bad road, which is Ruingu Chava Road. And I think we sympathize with the situation because running figayos, running vehicles, running different machinery, including these petrol and diesel-driven small machines like those for wood and many other. It depends on the fuel. You know that where there is no electricity, even generators come in. Because much of Chilubi, if you want to do certain things, you have to use a generator. And I think life is becoming unbearable, especially with the increment of fuel, which needs to be looked into. And I think this kind of formula of increasing fuel and you remove 1 kwacha today and all that is not helpful.
Shwangandu Member of Parliament Stephen Campiongo has advised the current administration to ensure that there is food security in Zambia. In an interview, Mr. Campiongo says government's failure to release maize to the millers is disappointing, accusing the government of exporting the commodity. He says the opposition Patriotic Front, a party he belongs to, has been advising government not to allow the export of maize, but the advice has fallen on deaf ears. Meanwhile, Mr. Campiongo, who is also former Home Affairs Minister, has attributed the increase to street kids begging on the streets to hunger being experienced in most homes.
The President must apply his mind, and his government should apply their mind on how they are going to ensure that there's food security. We didn't condemn them for exporting, but we told them that you can only export when you have got surplus. That was our contention. When we told them that don't export the maize before you know what it takes to produce this maize, we knew what was going to happen because we've been in government before. Here we are today. We opened the borders, exported maize. Now we don't have maize to give the millers. We don't have maize to give the national service plants that we left behind to mitigate the food challenges. So these are issues that we should have spoken to. Njala. Njala removes dignity from people. It removes dignity from people. So as we talk about how we should live as families, why are we having so many street children? There are so many street kids that are not supposed to be on the street. You go to Cafe roundabout there, see how the chaps are jumping in the fountain there as the swimming pool. They have run away from homes. There is no food. They are coming to beg from the street.
The opposition National Democratic Party, led by George Situla, has advised the government to consider subsidizing critical commodities such as MEALIE and fuel. In an interview with Camnet News, party leader Mr. Situla notes that this will at least ease the burden of the high cost of living being experienced by the majority Zambians. According to Mr. Situla's led NDC, which is part of the United Party for National Development Alliance, the party understands that life has become hard for the majority Zambians, but that something needs to be done to at least cushion the hunger situation, which most members of the public are complaining about. He says the monthly fuel review has also contributed, adding that once some form of subsidy is placed, it will be manageable for majority Zambians who are bearing the brunt of long-term government plans of reviving the economy. MEALIE, Zambia's staple, is currently fetching between 180 kwacha and 200 kwacha per 50 kilogram bag, a situation many have complained about.
I would appeal maybe to government that we think about subsidizing some of the commodities like MEALIE and fuel. I'm sure you can agree with me that a lot has happened in the recent past. This season there was delay in terms of fertilizer. The farming inputs were delayed. As a result, we anticipate that we can face some challenges where we are going. Secondly, some parts of the country have experienced floods and crops have been destroyed. So it could be prudent that maybe as government we just think about subsidizing the commodities to cushion that impact. I feel that we should not wait until we see people begin to drop dead. We shouldn't wait until we experience hunger. We need to tackle this problem in advance so that our people don't experience that. People are crying that the high cost of living is really choking them. So it's just prudent we come in advance and cushion the impact. Even through the DMMU, we need to do the best we can so that we do not experience what people are anticipating.
The United National Independence Party, UNIP, says Zambia should establish a professional and expert-led institutional framework which will insulate the mining sector from political interference and mismanagement. Addressing the media Saturday, UNIP President Trevor Mwamba states that the trends over the past few years indicate that political leadership has continued to be deeply involved in the management and decision-making of the country's mining investors when they should mainly focus on policy making. The UNIP president states that it is now time for the government to begin thinking long-term on how to deal with the mining sector to make sure that locals are benefiting adequately through various ways, such as offering necessary support to small-scale miners.
What we should be asking the ZCCM-IH board is that if they have failed to create value in mineral rights from the assets they hold, should they not resign? Creating junior mining schemes, another way forward. ZCCM-IH should be innovative in developing and enhancing the ownership of mining rights. There are many options, not limited to junior mining schemes. This will involve small-scale mines accessing exploration, excavation, processing, and marketing facilities through ZCCM-IH at commercial rates. This way, ZCCM-IH will also increase their revenue as they process and sell these metals from small-scale mines. These small-scale mines will start graduating from renting assets to owning mining equipment, and ZCCM-IH can choose who they invest in and grow them to large-scale mines. Such can be made into policy that every foreign investor in the mining sector should provide a certain percentage of their capacity to such mining junior schemes.
The Community Action Against Corruption has observed that Article 263 in the amended Republican Constitution of 2016 is just an academic pronouncement which has no systems in place to support its effectiveness. According to the said article, a person shall, before assuming and leaving public office, declare his or her assets and liabilities. Organization Chief Executive Officer Brighton Tembo says Zambia has no systems in place that can audit assets and liabilities of its citizens. He says if the country wants the law on declaration of assets to have its intended meaning, there is need to first demand for laws that will improve asset tracking and auditing, unlike the current system where asset declaration is not subject to professional independent auditing and evaluations.
We feel the law on declaration of assets by public office holders is just an academic exercise at the moment. When you look at the Constitution, Article 263 of the Republic of Zambia, it states that a person shall declare assets before and after leaving office. Now, if you look at this system, in Zambia we do not have proper mechanisms to audit and account for assets owned by people. So there is room for under declaration or over declaration of assets. So we have to make sure that we put in place measures that will make sure that whatever is declared is exactly the number of assets and liability that a person has. At the moment, you cannot even determine. People just declare what they feel they should declare. Whatever remains, remains. So there must be a system to audit that, such declarations, unlike just making academic declarations. If our country can fail to trace people owning properties in Lusaka, how can they be comfortable to say people have declared assets?
This is Camnet Television and not just another channel. We'll take our first commercial break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962 642 490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Living in a wonderful country full of opportunities for investment in property. Make sure your investment is guaranteed. Are you in the process of buying or selling land or properties? Don't waste your time and money. Contact SGK Property Company on 0966 610755 or 0762 166018. SGK, a company that will conduct due diligence for you before you purchase any property. Go for a tried and tested genuine company in Zambia. SGK Property Consultants.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the Camnet Television main news. Former Minister of Health, George Situla, says the current cholera disease in the country necessitates bold steps such as closing all shallow wells across the country while providing alternatives for citizens in such communities to access fresh water. Speaking to Camnet News, the former Minister of Health notes that there is also need for government to undertake a fact-based approach by identifying various causes of the disease while finding solutions to each problem. 6 districts in the country are currently facing a cholera outbreak, with 5 new cases having been recorded within the last 24 hours, according to the Ministry of Health. More in this report.
The cholera epidemic in Zambia continues to be a burden, robbing it of human resource needed to develop the country and causing a regression in progress made towards the eradicating of this epidemic from the nation by the year 2025. Since being first reported on 21st January 2023 in Forbe District of Eastern Province, cases have been recorded in 5 other districts, namely Chipata, Chipangali, Lusangazi, Mwansabombwe, and Nchelenge, bringing the total cumulative number to 190 and 4 cumulative deaths, with 5 new cases having been recorded within the last 24 hours, according to the Ministry of Health. Former Minister of Health Dr. George Situla says handling the cholera situation effectively will need drastic steps, such as evacuating people in hard-hit areas while finding solutions to existing problems which have led to the outbreak.
You will find that there are certain areas where it is consumption of water from shallow wells that is contaminated, that will fuel the outbreak. In other places, it will be like in fishing camps, where the same water that is used for household chores is used for sanitation, and therefore there is that contamination. It is very important to define the epidemic and identify what factors are fueling the epidemic. Today, government is called to identify or characterize this epidemic in various parts of the country and take a multi-pronged approach.
Also notes that one of the major causes is polluted water sources, necessitating long-term investment in water infrastructure.
The reason why this epidemic has potential to spread to every part of the country is that people move. People move from the fishing camps to come and trade in Lusaka. So you can get cholera here, you can get cholera on the corridors. So you create buffer zones and you need to deal with the root causes. You need to ensure that the human capital is refreshed with knowledge about the current epidemic. We need to invest in robust laboratory systems to support the surveillance and the response, and we need to ensure that we have the emergency response center or emergency response activated or triggered, adequately.
The former Minister of Health has further stressed the need for cross-border collaboration in fighting similar epidemics, noting that epidemics in neighboring countries can also spread to the nation if left unchecked. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Kembe constituency member of parliament in Central Province, Princess Kasune, says facts have established that most women, including elderly persons, have been victims of rape, with most cases going unreported. In an interview with Camnet News, Ms. Kasune says she is saddened that despite efforts being put up by government among various stakeholders, Zambia has continued to record a rise in the number of rape and child molestation cases, which she says are now happening in homes where children are supposed to be protected. She says inasmuch as society condemns the perpetrators of such vices, there is need to reform law to allow perpetrators of sexual violence be transformed, adding that most perpetrators were once victims of such vices and the cycle cannot end if the suspects are not transformed. More in this report.
The rise in the number of rape and child molestation cases in Zambia has continued to worry stakeholders who have been championing an end to child abuse. The 2022 fourth quarter GBV disaggregated data released by the Zambia Police on 10th February this month has indicated that 2,258 child victims were abused countrywide, out of which 1,636 were girls, while 622 were boys. Among the 1,636 girls who were abused, sexual and physical abuse accounted for the majority, which in any case does not sit well with the country.
We call on society to exercise their parental responsibility of protecting our children from all forms of child abuse and neglect. It starts at the home, Madam Speaker.
Kembe Member of Parliament Princess Kasune has since expressed disappointment on the rise in the number of child defilement and rape cases that the country has continued to record. According to Ms. Kasune, majority of women, including the elderly, have been victims of rape, yet their cases have been swept under the carpet.
A lot of rape cases, defilement, pedophiles, they are in our homes. These are the uncles. These are the brothers. These are the people who come to visit us in our homes, and so the sensitization needs to change. What is very unfortunate is where even now you have cases of fathers defiling their own children. Also, what we need to be reminded is that some of these cases, the more I have put myself in the shoes of discussing these issues, I'm realizing that a lot of young women, even older women, they were once defiled. They were once raped in our own homes, and they just kept it to themselves.
She has since called for the reforms of the laws that will allow for perpetrators of sexual violence to be transformed, adding that most perpetrators were once victims of such vices, and that the only way such cycle can be broken is by transforming the offenders.
This is a difficult one, but there is need to reform those who have acted on these vices, because if they are not reformed, they will continue doing the heinous crimes. And you'll be amazed that some of these people who have indulged in these heinous activities of raping or defiling or pedophile, they themselves went through that experience. So it becomes a vicious cycle.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Science and Technology Minister Felix Mutati has stressed the need for Zambia to extensively collaborate at regional level to effectively mitigate the impact of climate change in the country. Speaking on the sidelines of the just-ended Southern African Science Services Center on Climate Change and Adapted Land Management (SASCO) 10th anniversary in Berlin, Mr. Mutati said climate change has no boundaries and affected everyone, hence the need for increased collaboration at regional level. He said Zambia is one of the countries in the region that has benefited from research, capacity building and financial resources, adding that the German government has given Zambia more than 2.1 million euros over a period of 10 years to support various projects. Mr. Mutati said Zambia was prioritizing the use of green energy, adding that under the SASCO network, mapping had already been done and the next stage would be to pilot the hydrogen project in Zambia. He said there was a need for capacity building that can help young Zambians learn skills in managing green hydrogen. Mr. Mtadi said Zambia has over 40% of the water resource in the southern region and that the country should not allow water to go to waste but utilize it well, as green hydrogen is a byproduct of water. Green hydrogen technology is based on the generation of hydrogen, a universal light and highly reactive fuel, through a chemical process known as electrolysis, and is seen as a fuel of the future as the world tries to reduce emissions of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
In order to take that technology as a driver, one, for appropriate decision making in the research and in the solutions that we create around SASCO. Zambia as a country has benefited from not only research but also from financial resource. In the last 10 years, we've been able to get over 2.1 million euros to support us in the various activities. But going forward, tackling climate change, one of the areas that we have prioritized from the Zambian perspective is the issue of hydrogen. Under the SASCO framework, we have done the necessary research, we have done the mapping. The next level that we need to do is now, how do we pilot hydrogen in Zambia, particularly riding on the capacity of Germany as one of the global leaders in hydrogen. This is the level where we are, and we're here as part of SASCO, as Zambia, to be able to lobby that we need to transit from the pilot, from the research that has been done and the mapping that has been done on hydrogen, to creating a pilot, but also beyond that, to create capacity, training our cadres in hydrogen so that they are able to manage these projects effectively. So that we have prioritized, because that will be part of the transition that is required in the energy mix. We need to transit to climate smart energy, and hydrogen is one of the climate smart energies.
We'll take another break. Join us for international sports news after the break.
On Monday, 27th February 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guest, Mr. Xavier Chishimba, President of UPP.
What you are saying is, we in the UPP, if we want to fight against corruption, we must separate, as a matter of agency, policy formulation from implementation. Right now we have 9 ministries making policies, implementing policies. It is wrong.
As they discuss governance, corruption, justice, and economy.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, and text messages. Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Living in a wonderful country full of opportunities for investment in property. Make sure your investment is guaranteed. Are you in the process of buying or selling land or properties? Don't waste your time and money. Contact SGK Property Company on 0966 610755 or 0762 166018. SGK, a company that will conduct due diligence for you before you purchase any property. Go for a tried and tested genuine company in Zambia. SGK Property Consultants.
In international news, tropical cyclone FREDDY dumped dangerous and exceptional rainfall levels over Mozambique on Friday, February 24, as the storm continued to wreak havoc across southern Africa, the UN Weather Agency has said. FREDDY made landfall in the coastal town of Vilanculos with wind speeds of 113 kilometers, damaging trees and housing. Residents sheltered at a primary school, terrified. It is projected to weaken as it burrows through southern Africa, but still poses serious risk of heavy rainfall to Zimbabwe, South Africa, Zambia, Malawi, and Botswana, according to the Regional Weather Center in La Réunion Island. For more in international news, here's a report.
Tropical cyclone FREDDY dumped dangerous and exceptional rainfall levels over Mozambique Friday as the storm continued to wreak havoc across southern Africa, the UN Weather Agency said. FREDDY made landfall in the coastal town of Vilanculos with wind speeds of 113 kilometers, damaging trees and housing. Residents sheltered at a primary school, terrified. It was a very strong and frightening wind. We were scared and it didn't sit well with us at all. The tropical storm is now classified as an intense tropical cyclone. It is projected to weaken as it burrows through southern Africa, but still poses serious risk of heavy rainfall to Zimbabwe, South Africa, Zambia, Malawi and Botswana, according to the Regional Weather Center. Voting officially kicked off in Nigeria at 7:30 a.m. GMT Saturday. Nearly 90 million people are eligible to cast a ballot to elect the country's next president and choose their representatives in parliament. The vote comes at a time when Africa's most populous democracy grapples with a security crisis, a sluggish economy and cash and fuel shortages. Around 400,000 police and troops will be deployed to protect voters. Polling stations are set to close at 1:30 p.m. GMT, but all voters on queue before 1 can vote, the Electoral Commission said. The body gave no timeline for results. However, the 2022 law provides official results are to be confirmed within 14 days of the ballot. For the first time in Nigeria's modern history, 3 candidates have emerged in the race for the top office. One day after jihadists stormed Kanibonzon village in central Mali, military and administrative authorities were still establishing the human toll of the attack. If at least 13 people were confirmed dead, a local source fears the toll could be as high as 20. Bereaved families gathered Friday for funeral prayers. The witness remembers everything. There are many of them. The first group wasn't numerous. Another group came over the hill, and then there were loads of them. Assailants reportedly attacked the village on Thursday, burning homes and abducting 3 people. A local official said cattle had been stolen. Touring the village, Sidi Mohammed al-Bashir, the region's governor, called for restraint as he met with relatives of the deceased. Central Mali has been one of the hotspots for jihadist violence in the Sahel since 2015 and the arrival of the Katiba Masina group.
It's now time for sports news. Now, sports news tonight, the Zambia Bodybuilding and Fitness Federation has named its 14-member squad comprising of 4 women and 10 men who will represent the country at the Bodybuilders Western African Championship to be held in Ghana in March this year. Speaking in Lusaka Saturday, Association President Jackson Nkoma says the country should embrace 4 medals as the 14 men and women squad, including the current Mr. Zambia Mwilamwanza, are fit to win the tournament. Mr. Nkoma has since encouraged those who have not been selected to not give up but get back to the gym and prepare for the tournament that will take place in South Africa in May this year. More in this report.
The Zambia Bodybuilding and Fitness Federation has named its 14-member squad comprising of 4 women and 10 men, including the current Mr. Zambia Mwilamwanza, who will be representing the country at the Bodybuilders Western African Championship, which will be held in Ghana in March this year. The selection of the squad Saturday morning saw 16 men and 14 women compete for the top space to represent the country at the tournament that will attract more than 8 countries. And Association President Jackson Nkoma says the country should embrace itself for medals as the 14 men and women squad that has been selected for the tournament is fit for the competition.
This is well to prepare everybody for the tournament, the West African competition in Ghana. And now this means they need to go back in the gym and also improve on how they are looking to the compared to how they should have gone to the stage. Because the ladies are looking very good, the guys in physics are looking very good, the bodybuilders are looking very good. We have massive chance. I think when we're coming back, we expect people to be drumming at the airport when they're coming back. We should be coming back with medals instead.
Mr. Nkoma also had a word of encouragement to the athletes that have not made it to the top 10.
Anyone who hasn't qualified today, they should just get back into the gym. We also have Arnold Classics in South Africa in May. So they need to now start competing amongst themselves for them to create a very competitive environment. It shouldn't be a one-man show. It shouldn't be one person winning all the time.
The event also saw a lot of support from the spectators who came to cheer for their colleagues who were competing for the top space. The athletes have since been encouraged to get back to the gym as they wait to travel for the tournament that will run from the 16th to the 18th of March 2023. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
To end Camnet Television News, the headlines once again. 2 women of the same family in GWembe die after consuming a sex booster. Family of a 4-year-old boy recently stabbed to death demands justice. Government urged to subsidize essential commodities like fuel and MEALIE. In international news, Cyclone FREDDY slams eastern Mozambique with exceptional rainfall. And in sports news, 14 bodybuilders selected to participate in the Western Championship in Ghana next month. Our Camnet verse of the day today is coming from Psalms 98 verse 1. Sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have worked salvation for him. Thank you once again for watching the news. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Good night.